Hey guys, what's up? So, for those who don't know me, my name is Croydon Rose, and I used to work as a ground staff for 2 years, and I'm flying for the last 3 years now. So, overall, 5 years experience in aviation, and it's very important that you also know other departments like how I do. So, you see it all, you respect the other positions, you respect the other departments, and that is what aviation is about. You cannot work with one department alone. Each and every department is interconnected to each other, interdependent on each other. So, as you all know, I keep posting on Instagram about the interviews happening, and I get a lot of DMs stating a lot of various questions as to how to crack the interview and what do I do in the first round, what do I do in GD round. So I came up with this video where I'm going to explain you all the entire interview process today. All right, and from the time you decide you want to become a cabin crew till you go on your first flight, I'm going to explain everything in detail, everything in between. All right, so starting with the first round, and just keep in mind that this is not for a particular airline. Each and every airline have a similar format for interviews happening. So no matter whichever airline you try, this is going to be a format, maybe a few years and there's, but then this is what it is. So for example, tomorrow you wake up and you say you decide you want to become a cabin crew. So what is your next step? Your next step is first you gather information about what a cabin crew job is, what airlines do we fly in India, what are the uniforms. So for that you can go to Google. For example, you can go to SpiceJet Careers, you can go to Indigo Careers, you can go to Jet Airways Careers, where you will get information about the interview dates as well as the requirements that the airline has put forward for you to become a cabin crew. So once you understand the requirements and you get the dates, you are almost there, where you know you have your mind focused now that I have to go for this interview, I have to make it. These are the requirements, I have to work over it. So for every airline there'll be a different requirement, a different height, a different weight, but it's important that you go through all that. So a standard list of all the requirements that maybe one or more of the airlines have, that is, your age when you apply for a cabin crew should be 18 to 27. It should be between 18 to 27. um, for example, now you're 27 and next month you're going to be 28. So giving the interview next month or this month is going to be no good, because by the time you finish your process it's going to be more than a month. So 18 to 27, that's it. Height for guys is 170 centimeters and for women is 157. So I do get a lot of questions saying that my height is 165 or 168, what do I do? And I always tell them that you go for the interview and let the interviewer take a call on your height. However, knowing airlines, they are very strict with this. So if your height is less than 170 centimeters, the very first thing is they will reject you for that. Or if your weight is overweight, they are not going to allow you to go further. So please work on that. Your educational qualification required is 10 plus 2. That's your HSC, your 12th. If you're doing a diploma after 10th for 2 years, well and good. So if you ask me, is graduation required? I get these questions, is graduation required? Graduation is not required to become a cabin crew. However, in the long run it is going to be useful for you. So do your graduation and then consider doing this, or if you can simultaneously work as a cabin crew after you're 18, after you do your HSC, and then do your graduation simultaneously to correspondence or university distant learning, it's well and good. So think about it. Physical features, you should have a pleasing personality, a clean complexion, there should be no pimples, scars, blemish, and good eyesight. So a few questions that I get is about eyesight. I wear spectacles. Is it allowed? Is lens allowed? Yes, lens is allowed, and the number would be plus or minus 3. So if it's more than that, you would need to do a laser operation or whatever operation is needed for that. You should be unmarried, and good communication skills. That's what brings a cabin crew up. You should be well versed with your English, your Hindi. If you know a foreign language, for example, French or Mandarin, it's going to be very useful since we fly to Paris, we fly to Hong Kong. That's going to be in your favor. All right. So the company, the airlines would like a person who knows French, so that in the international sectors you can communicate well with a lot of guests. You should be an Indian citizen. For any Indian airline, you should be an Indian citizen, and you should have a valid Indian passport. All right. So if you have not made your passport yet, you have just finished your SSC, I think you should start working on making a passport for yourself. So after you have achieved all this, after you know what the requirements are, after you feel that I fit into this criteria, and you have an interview coming up next week, so get yourself ready for the interview. Guys, I would suggest you wear a blazer, a pant, a matching blazer and pant, a white shirt, a tie. That would give you a total Western formal look. Girls wear skirt, trousers, but make it a Western formal look. Do not wear Indian for the interview. They're going to reject you straight away. So after you have decided what you're going to wear, one day before or 2 days before, start working on a CV, a resume. Mention everything about yourself in the resume for the last 10 years or whatever. If you have ran a race in school, if you have got a medal for this, that, just mention it. For freshers mostly, since your resume is going to be just about yourself, make it large, make it seen and visible that you have achieved something, even though you're still 18 now or 19 now. For experienced crew who have worked in other sectors, do mention about the process that you were working for. What are the challenges you faced? Make it at least a 3 or 4 page long in the resume. So then on your interview day, make sure you be punctual, you come on time. First thing the HR will do is she'll take your resume and give you a form to fill. Your form will ask you your details again, your passport number again. As I said, have your passport ready with you. The very next thing is this is going to take you for your height and your weight check. So for boys, if your height is above 170 centimeters, your weight is in proportion, and you're falling within the BMI. For different airlines, they would have a different BMI count. For guys, different. For girls, different. The best way to calculate your BMI is go to Google, type BMI calculator, put your height in centimeters, your weight in kgs, and for guys it should be normally between 22 to 26. For girls, less than 24. So if you feel your weight is too much, you can work over it. 3 kgs of your weight make up 1 BMI. So if you feel your BMI limit is 26 but it's showing 27, you got to reduce 3 kgs or more. All right. So after your height and weight check is done, after they feel that you are capable, your personality is great to go to the next round, the very first round starts then. That's your personal interview. Most of you ask me, how do I crack the first round? To be honest, this is the most important round. All right. So as soon as you go in the room, look at the invigilator in the eye, tell them that good morning, smile. They just want to see how well you have entered, how warm you are. Before you sit down, please take permission from them, like, can I sit down, please may I sit down? And they'll say yes. So the question that they'll ask you the very first time is, tell me something about yourself. Now everyone asks me to tell me something about myself so that they can get an idea of it, but this is mostly about yourself. All right. So in this, they are looking out as to how you can speak, your language delivery, what all can you speak in. If I give you a topic, so the best topic would be, tell me about yourself, and you have a lot to speak about. So when you start speaking, like my name is Croydon Rose, I'm 26 years old. I've done my graduation. I've worked in so and so company. There are 4 members in my family. So there are certain points in what you speak about yourself where you can elaborate the points. For example, there are 4 members in my family. It's me, my father, my mother, and my brother. My father's name is so and so, and he's working as so and so. My mother's name is so and so. Now you see, just telling them that you have 4 members in the family is going to take like 3 to 4 seconds, but elaborating the point is going to take 1 minute. And if you keep on giving such points, elaborating, the next point that you can elaborate is on your hobbies. For example, I like traveling, I like listening to music, I like reading books. Now, listening to music is such a topic where you can speak for hours and hours. For example, in my interview, I told them that I like listening to music, but not all sorts of music. It should be like love songs or slow songs. My favorite singer is Kailash Kher. I've been to his concert. Just a 10-second thing has now been enlarged to 1 minute. So please talk about that. If you say traveling is a passion, tell them where all have you traveled, what all have you done. The next question that they'll ask is, what are your strengths, what are your weakness. That best you know, I can't help you with that. For But I would say, when it comes to weakness, do not give them a weakness that will make you weak in front of them. However, it should make you strong in front of them. An answer that I heard from a colleague was, my weakness is I cannot say no to anyone. Now in airlines and service industry, this is what we want. When a passenger or when a customer asks us for something, and you can't say no, you're going to go miles to just deliver what he wants. And this is what the airline is looking out for. So if that is your weakness, they are rest assured that you are going to do everything for the passenger to make him happy. Another question is, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Now, depends on the airline that you're going. For example, if you're going to Jet Airways, after 3 years, you are promoted as a cabin supervisor, and a few years more, you're promoted as a cabin manager. If you go to Indigo, 3 years from there, you are promoted as a leading lady. So if you see yourself 5 years from there with the same airline or a different airline, now a different airline, you can't say then that I see myself 5 years from now in Qatar Airways or Emirates. So if that's your target, why should I invest in you now? Because hiring one cabin crew is like a lot of investment, from your uniform to your trainings to everything, your pick up and drop, your salaries, your stipends. So don't give them a reason to understand that you don't want to work with them. Just tell them that you would like to see yourself as a cabin supervisor, or maybe a much more successful cabin crew, working with the same organization, being loyal to them and still being happy. After that round, you are either told two things: that you're selected, or my favorite, we'll call you after 7 days. So we'll call you after 7 days is what I have heard for at least 5 times till I got selected. And each time I heard that, okay, I'll tell you this incident. So the first time when they told me to call me in 7 days, I waited for 7 days for their call, but they did not call me. So few months later, I went again for the interview, and they said they'll call me in 7 days. So I thought, okay, this time I'll wait for 7 days. Maybe last time they forgot to call me or something, because there were so many candidates, but they forgot again. Now I kept thinking that why aren't they not calling me? So the third time when I went, I wore a tie for my interview, and they told me they're going to call me back again. The fourth time I went, I wore a blazer. They told me the same thing. The fifth time I went, I wore a blazer and tie, shoes polished, hair spiked, gelled, everything. They said the same thing. But the sixth time I went, I told myself that if not this time, I'm not going to try again. I went for the interview and I spoke like as if I was speaking to a friend of mine. I didn't think that there was a interviewer in front of me that I should be scared of. Like most of you all are scared of when it comes to giving interviews. uh, I spoke as a friend. Gave so much information when we started having a conversation. That is what is important right now, because on the flight you meet 150 to 300 passengers every day, and it's very important for you to have a conversation with them. So that's when I felt that okay, today I met a friend and not an interviewer. Today I had a conversation and I wasn't just speaking as like a parrot. I wasn't just reading out my resume to them. And thereafter, after the sixth attempt, it all worked out in my favor. So the second round that happens, it happens in some airlines, it doesn't happen in some airlines. It's an English grammar test. Alright, it's mostly for 20 marks for 20 minutes, and I think around 70 to 80% is your passing. So that's a very easy test. It's fill in the blanks, comprehension. Uh, you should know your English for this. Alright, that's just testing your English. So once you go for the test, you give the test. I'm sure everyone will pass in this. It's not to fail you, but just to see that you know your English well. Alright, the third round is a GD round, group discussion. If I check my DMs on Instagram, I see around 80% of you asking me how to crack the GD round. I won't tell you how to crack it, but I'll tell you how to have fun in your GD round, how to have a good GD round. For people who watch roadies, let me tell you, Jet Airways, Indigo, SpiceJet, when they have their GD rounds, it is not roadies. They do not want to see how you're screaming, how you're putting other people down. What they want to see is how well you're listening to others. So what happens normally is there is 6 candidates sitting there and the HR is standing and looking at you. A topic is given to you. For example, you are a steward in a hotel, and a guest is irate because the food hasn't come yet and he has waited for 20 minutes. How do you handle the situation? So what do you do as a steward and handle the situation? Now, 6 of y'all are sitting there, so each one is going to, they are wanting to put their point forward. However, when the first person talks, you're listening and you're acknowledging that the person has said something good. Like the first person said that, firstly I will apologize to the customer, and you do not have to scream your point. Then you have to be like, okay, that's like a good point. But at the back of your head, you are going to think about a point that none of these 5 are going to think about. Maybe a point that's going to help the customer be happy, and we're going to retain that customer again. Maybe by my point, that customer is going to come again. So while others are talking and you're listening, if there's a small silence in between, that's where you put your point forward. Make your point loud and clear. Make sure that the HR can listen to it. So after 8 to 10 minutes, after you all have stopped discussing about that, the HR is going to ask each and every one a point as to what did you take out of the situation. So the first person is going to put a point, but the second person is now confused and he repeats the first point again. The third person repeats the first point again. Make sure that you give a point that the others 5 do not give. That's your one shot to clear the GD round. You have to show that you are unique. You have to show that you have the skills to manage the situation. You have to defuse that bomb, alright? And that's your GD round. So whenever you ask me how to crack the GD round, I do not know how to crack it, but this is what I would do, and this is what I did. Alright, so coming to the fourth round now. After each and every round, after you're selected, they'll tell you you're selected. If not, they'll tell you my favorite line that we'll call you after 7 days. Alright, so now they told you you're selected after GD, you go to the fourth round. The fourth round is a management round where a member of HR will be sitting 1:1 with you, and she'll be explaining the terms and conditions of the company. She will tell you that you have to work for irregular shifts. Your flight timings will be irregular. There may be a possibility that your base will be somewhere. If you're living in Mumbai, your base may be Chennai or Hyderabad, and this is going to be your salary, this is going to be your stipend, your training is going to happen for so and so. So in that round, mostly you have to contribute by putting your points forward, and a guy like me would just agree to everything that they say because I want the job, right? But later, if you have to compromise, you will have to compromise on your base. For example, if you're living in Mumbai but they need a cabin crew to operate from Chennai, they are going to transfer you to Chennai. So if you're saying yes, then make sure that you are okay with it. Maybe 2 years later or 3 years later, they can transfer you back to Mumbai. That is possible, that happens most of the times. All right, so the fourth round is mostly you and the HR interacting on some business policies, some company policies, where you all are just agreeing with each other and being on the same terms, so that later there is no problem. Then you have to sign a paper saying that whatever she said, I agree to it. All right, and then comes the final round. Okay, I would say that's the higher management round, or that's your final round. So you have a panel of 3 to 4 people sitting there. It should be the HR manager, the cabin crew manager who is now taking interviews, maybe a person from safety, a service. So it's going to be a big person there sitting there in front of 3 or 4 of them. You go in the room, they are going to ask you, they're going to throw situations at you. Tell me something that you felt challenging in your life. Tell me something, if someone is not happy with you, what do you do? And your answers have to be spontaneous. You don't know what they're going to ask. For each and every one, there's a different set of questions coming. You have to be spontaneous, you have to be confident, you have to be clear. um, these are some life questions that I ask you that's happening every day in your life, so you shouldn't have a problem not answering those questions here. And after all your 5 rounds are done, if you are selected, they will tell you you are selected. If not, that's when a cooling period of 3 months comes in. So your next interview you can only apply after 3 months, or else if you give an interview today, you do not pass in the first round, you can try again next week or after 2 weeks, whenever you like. So after your 5 rounds, after you're selected, the HR will start their paperwork right there. They will ask you for your documents, they'll give you a set of forms you need to fill. They will line you up for a medical test happening in the next 2 days. There'll be a list of pharmacies or a list of clinics where you can go to do your medical test. So after you've been there, 2 days later is your medical test now. So you go for your medical test. There are a series of tests happening: a chest X-ray, a stool test, um, urine test, your eyesight test, your listening test. So I don't think anyone has not gone through all that. But then there are some times where they will tell you that there is some problem with you. For example, a friend of mine had kidney stone, and he never knew that he had kidney stone until it was my very minor stone, but until the medical test. They gave him few months. However, he could get it out of his system. So this is going to happen with you too. If not, you clear all your medical tests well and good. Then in the next 7 to 14 days, your HR is going to contact you via phone or email again and give you a batch. All right. Uh, so this batch is where your training starts now, from day one. They will explain to you what all you need to get, what all you don't need to get for your training. All right. And 3 months of training for mostly every airline. All right. 3 months where you need to struggle, you need to give it your all. It's not going to be like your 8th standard or 9th standard where you have learned things that you're not going to use now. This 3 months are going to be everything that you're going to be living in. You're going to be living in an aircraft. You are the doctor, you are the security guard, you are everything there. So every day there are going to be tests happening in your training. There are different sections: first aid, safety, service, airport security, aviation security. So make sure you study every day for those 3 months dedicatedly. Uh, pass in all your tests. If you fail in one main exam, they are going to reschedule you for another batch. You're going to come few batches back, and now they're going to have a test again. And if you don't clear, then you're out of the company. You can try again after 3 months. But this again, I have never seen it happening where people do not give their best and do not study and then are sent back or thrown out of the company. So be serious with those 3 months, all right? And then finally, after you clear all those, you graduate and comes your first flight. So from the day you think you want to become a cabin crew till your first flight, this is what is going to happen. Now, on Instagram, all right? So I get a lot of questions or frequently asked questions, and I made a list of it. So the major question is, which institute should I join? If you see the airline's requirement to become a cabin crew, nowhere it has written that you need to do a course from an institute. Um, this institutes will teach you what it is like to become a cabin crew, but it will not train you as per the airlines. So this is why the airlines have a 3 month training starting from scratch, where they teach you A to Z about the airlines, because you know there is a specific set of job that you need to do with this airline, and that is what they're going to teach you, the A to Z of that airline. So spending money in an institute, spending 2 years to clear the course, I don't think it is useful, or maybe not even economical. All right. The second question is how to crack GD round, which I've already told you. It's not about cracking, it's about how you behave in that GD round. All right. So our next question is, do we need reference for the job? All right. Well, if reference would really work, I wouldn't have to give the interview 6 times. All right. So go for it. I would say each and every interview that you do not get selected is a positive note for you to go as a better person for the next interview. See what did not work this time, try and improvise on it. Go as a new person the next time. Maybe then person taking your interview is going to be someone else, not the same person. Maybe he is going to see something in you that the other person did not see, and that's what you need to do. All right. So how next question is how to manage my studies and fly after my 12th. Well, after your 12th, if you really want to become a cabin crew, you go through all this process. But now, somewhere down the line, because of peer pressure, or maybe because you realize that graduation is something important that I need to do, you can always do it through correspondence, distant learning. So, after 6 months of probation, you are entitled to certain leaves. You can use those leaves for your exam phase. Um, in correspondence, you just need to give one final exam a year in April. All right, so you can use those leaves. Then you can use few more leaves earlier to study. And every day after your flights or before your flights, on your off days, please go through your notes so that you can complete your graduation, which is very important now. All right. Till what age does a cabin crew fly, and what after that? Well, for private airlines, it's mostly 45 years of age, and for government airlines, it's 60 years of age. So after 45, depends on your skills that you have got in this few years that you flew, and your uh, educational qualification, then that can give you a ground job or an office job. All right. So working with the same airlines. So these are the few frequently asked questions. And another question about height: what if I'm 168 or 165? I wouldn't suggest about that. As I said, go for the interview. Let the interviewer themselves tell you that your height is less. Maybe if they find your personality well, or maybe if they want to take you, that's totally up to them. But airlines are very strict with these rules. All right. So I hope this video was useful to you, and if you have any questions apart from this, if you have any feedback for me, or want to know much more, or something else that even I have not spoken about today, you can always DM me on my Instagram handle. That's cabin crew underscore Croy. That's cabin crew underscore Croy, CROY. I just kept it easy so that you type cabin crew and you wouldn't get me, but that does not happen. Alright, so underscore Croy. So thank you guys for listening to me, and I hope this was useful. Maybe next time when you go, you have a mindset of what's going to happen in the interview and how do I need to be. For guys, please shave, gel your hair, look good, alright? And girls too. Alright, cheers. And until next time, maybe I can plan a video on how to become a ground staff, because I see a lot of people asking me the question again. So I can get in touch with my ground staff colleagues and ask them as to how their interview process is and how to crack it. Alright. So till then, see you guys. Thank you for all your love. Take care.